Greetings, nerds. This is SNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Paul. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing all right. All right.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Big,
yeah.
yeah. It's a Tuesday night.
Let's just put it out there. There is some resentment occurring right now because you are forced to talk to me for an hour instead of watching Flash.
There's no resentment. There's nothing but love here. What are we talking about?
Yeah. And that other voice you hear is the referee for tonight, Miss Veronica Rose. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
Good, but you sense the tension, right?
Yeah,
I do.
It's just, I can't believe she's making me do this. Nah, just kidding.
Can't mess with the Flash. Cannot mess with the Flash.
Yeah, he cheated and he watched it anyway.
I did. Yes, I admit it. I did. But I have not spoiled. I was being a good partner and not spoiling it for you. So
it's true. He has not said a word. Just he owned up to the fact that he watched it, like a guilty pleasure. Like, well, I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah, pretty much. pretty much. Hey, it was mid-season return. So admit it. You would have done the same thing if it was Arrow.
I live in a different time zone.
I know, but the situations were reversed, and you were in an Eastern time zone instead of Alaska time zone. You would have done it.
So what you're saying is, if I was far from home, I would have done it.
Ooh, I like what you did there.
I did something. No. It's not subtle at all. Let's get into it, because for like 5 minutes yesterday, Will and I were both kind of like, what are we going to talk about? And of course we figure it out only for us to realize that they're dropping the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. It is here. I don't know what else to say about it, but Veronica, what are your first thoughts on the trailer?
I haven't seen it yet. I didn't even see Spider-Man Homecoming. I haven't caught it yet. I am really bad about going to the movies to go see it, and then when it came out, I just keep ignoring it. It has nothing to do with anything specific. It's just Spider-Man has never been one of my favorite characters. Mm-hmm. Like, he's cool or whatever. Like, the whole thing behind him is cool, but I don't know. Spider-Man just never did it for me. The kind of like
Did you go see, Yeah. Did you go see Spider-Verse or did that?
Not yet. Like I said, I'm really bad about going to the movie theaters. Really bad.
Fair enough.
Wait a second. If Spider-Man isn't her favorite character, why would she go see a movie with like 5 different versions of it?
Well, I just, Miles Morales. I just thought maybe.
I do want to see that one. I will say I do want to see. But as far as when I saw the Captain America Civil War or whatever, was it that one that they introduced? Yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, he looks like he'd be kind of a cool Spider-Man. And in Infinity Wars, he's actually kind of funny. So I'm curious enough to maybe want to watch it, but I think I'm going to wait till it's like on Netflix and not have to pay to watch it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Well, Sarah, let's I want to hear your thoughts on.
Before I do, I do want to drop kind of like the Spark Notes version. I highly recommend Veronica checking out the YouTube channel Kind of Funny and go to their in review playlist. They covered all of the Spider-Man movies, and it is hilarious. And they're not even reacting to it. One of them just memorizes all of the scenes. And so I think if you want to, if you see the trailer Far From Home, or if after Infinity or Avengers Endgame, you want to check out more Spider-Man, then I just suggest going to their channel and listening to all of their thoughts about it to get yourself up to speed because those movies don't hold up. But Far From Home. Okay, well, this trailer, it's not my favorite trailer in the world. I've seen better trailers. It tells you exactly what's going on, but it also doesn't. I watched a few different people online react to the trailer, and I have to find the one exactly so I can give her credit. But Grace on her YouTube channel said after watching it that here's what's really going on, most likely is Mysterio has cast himself as the hero of the story, and a lot of it's all an illusion. And I think if they do that and if they pull it off correctly, that can be a really compelling story because it's really taking that literal approach to what we always say about the villains of these stories. They need to see themselves as a hero, and more importantly, the audience needs to see them as a hero. In that moment, like Jake Gyllenhaal had one line in the whole trailer, and my first time watching it, I was like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. Wait, and it wasn't even that big, like it wasn't Shakespeare, but you still were just like, what's going on?
I agree with you there, and I've seen similar reactions today as well. That Mysterio is sort of cast himself as a hero, or maybe in this film, and obviously the other question is, how does this tie into Endgame? And hearing your reaction video that you watched where someone said it was an illusion, even deepens that thought that maybe this did happen, did occur either before Endgame, because otherwise it undermines the stakes. Well, we all know Spider-Man's going to survive Endgame, but at least keep the pretense up for just a little while. But I watched both the international version of the trailer and the US version, and I have to say I like the international version better.
Me too.
Veronica, this is where you need to break the tie.
No, see, I watched the US trailer right now on mute, obviously, but
she muted
just
us.
Watching it without even hearing to hear it, I was already bored. There was nothing about that trailer that was interesting.
I can see how somebody who's not already a fan of the character and the property could easily be bored, because I agree it's not the best trailer in the world. If I was not a fan of Spider-Man, I would probably have the exact same reaction. It's very similar to when they dropped that small film called Aquaman, and I'm like, Jason Momoa abs, okay.
Or that small film, that little film. But but I feel like I don't know if it's just because 2018 Marvel had just phenomenal films, as far as with Black Panther, with Infinity War, and even Ant-Man and Wasp. I mean, they all delivered. I mean, but they all had solid trailers. I'm just feeling between Captain Marvel and even Far From Home, their trailer game is like off, or are they or either that, or they are trying to go the DC route with how they adjusted with Aquaman. It's just tonally, they just seem off their game. I mean, it was enjoyable, but it was very pedestrian and
absolutely
paint by the numbers, and I mean, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, because I'm a fan, but it wasn't like, it didn't like blow me away either.
Right. And I agree, and I like how you brought up Captain Marvel because heading into March, I'm kind of on that same boat of the trailers haven't sold me on why this is going to be an event film that I have to see in theaters. I'm most likely going to see it in theaters because I really want to support female superheroes. And also, I really just, I mean, I like this universe. We have Endgame coming, so the more we get, we're being greedy.
No.
But if you compare both Captain Marvel trailers and this Far From Home trailer to Avengers Endgame trailer, or even Thor Ragnarok had a really good campaign.
That was probably of the recent Marvel films. I'm glad you brought up Ragnarok because that one it made me want to go see it because I was kind of leery for a solo Thor effort after Dark World, and
who wasn't?
Everyone was, and that was how you build up buzz for a film, and it really, that trailer still stands out. Just a retro feel to it, Chris Hemsworth, play into his natural charisma with that character, and it bore out in Thor Ragnarok itself. That it created an expectation like, okay, this is gonna be a fun film. Whereas, again, as I said earlier, Far From Home, Captain Marvel, and even Endgame kind of it's like, okay, Endgame is just, it's going to be an event just for the sake of being an event because we know, with the snap and everything, it's like, okay, that's all well and good. But like you said, with Captain Marvel, I almost feel like it is kind of an obligation thing at this point to like go see it more so than it being an event film.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but and who knows? Maybe they come out with a second trailer and it's that much better, but or maybe they're just relying on Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse to really sell tickets for Far From Home, considering like that movie just makes you want more Spider-Man.
Yeah,
for some of it. Not if you're named Veronica, but for some of it.
Yeah. No, I would watch. I think that I would definitely watch Spider-Man movies if they were, like already like on Netflix or Amazon Prime, where I didn't have to like pay to watch it. But definitely Into the Spider-Verse, or I would definitely like that is one I wish I can go see in the theaters. I just hate going to movie theaters sometimes.
I'm the exact same way.
Yeah, I'd rather go like early in the morning when I can be the only person sitting in the row. I would be happy that way.
Yep.
But yeah, just watching those two trailers didn't do it for me. And the Captain Marvel, yeah. I mean, I like the idea of a female superhero, another one, but I don't know. It didn't get me as hyped up as I thought it was going to when they first announced it. So yeah, I'm definitely not feeling it.
I will say that, I know we've kind of been kind of lukewarm on it, but my initial impressions of the Mysterio suit, because I know Sarah, we had talked about it some time ago. I did like it. I will say that. Yeah. I mean, it did. It definitely does justice to the character, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it in the film. So, I mean, there were obviously good moments in it, but again, it wasn't. It was just very, as I said, very pedestrian, very safe. Didn't take any chances, and it's just basically building into the fact that we have a built-in universe and a built-in audience for these shows and movies, and we're just we know people are going to go see it.
Yeah. And I don't think there's much more to add at this point on it. let's head over to things that Veronica can talk about. Talk about some TV. So Netflix keeps dropping stuff. They just every week I feel like I have to go to Netflix and see what is new. And this weekend they dropped Friends from College season 2 and Sex Education. Will, you watched all of Sex Education?
No, I haven't been able to binge all 8 episodes, but I've got to episode 4, so I really like this show. It's a little, it's funny in that it's set in the UK, but I feel like it's almost like an American high school, and so you just sort of have to. It's like a mashup of cultures and mashup of decades, because at some point it feels like it has a retro feel. Sometimes it feels present day, but the themes are kind of universal. Where you have a kid, his name's Otis, and his mother, who's played by Gillian Anderson, is a sex therapist, and so it's your typical teenage boy with all awkwardness and angst and puberty and just trying to navigate all that. And so he, despite his awkwardness, he basically becomes an on-the-fly sex therapist for his classmates in high school. And all these weird, as people go through his classmates go through their various struggles with various things as far as body image and performance anxiety and other things that people deal with. He basically plays the role of like therapist, even though he's as messed up as the rest of them. And it's interesting because it takes the well-worn teenage tropes, and when you hear a title Sex Education, you hear teenagers, you think of the raunchy movies from like the 80s, as far as Porky's and I was just watching Fast Time at Ridgemont High, just, and all the things that, and there's some themes that happen from those films that are actually in this series, but it's done in a very like heartfelt way, and really in a very humanistic way as far as dealing with those feelings, and and it's a dramedy. So yeah, there's some definitely funny moments where I'm just like laughing out loud, but at the same time, it also it does have a heart, and Otis really does a good job of just helping his classmates out through their various issues, especially when kid takes Viagra and he can't come down. So, but they help him work through that, and it's a very funny moment. And he's the headmaster's of the high school's son, and so there's issues, so he has a very interesting way of dealing with his anxieties as far as performance, and also his well-endowed attributes, and he just takes it head on there in the school cafeteria. So, and I'll just leave it at that. So definitely recommend it. It's a fun show, easy watch, and yeah, check it out.
Veronica, did you watch it at all?
No, I haven't, but knowing that Gillian Anderson is in it, I usually like watching anything, especially if it's completely different from her being in the Netflix series The Fall, because that was really intense and I loved it. So it'd be nice to kind of see her go in a different direction.
Yeah.
So I'll have to check it out.
You won't even recognize her.
You won't.
There's another actress who I always think I watched the first episode and like a quarter of a second last night, and every time she was on the screen, I'm like, you look like this other actress who I can picture in my mind, and I know it's not you, but you look so much like her, and I can't think of her name.
So what did you think of it, Sarah?
I thought it was fine. I guess I don't know. I'm not like hooked on it. I might circle back to it, but I'm not obsessed with it.
Yeah. Well, it made it past the 3rd episode rule for me, so it's a fun watch. It's not one I would like feel like I have to just zip through and knock it out all in like a binge weekend or whatever. But but it is an enjoyable show.
Yeah, I think the hard part for me is that this weekend I binged Friends from College season 2, and that is 8 episodes, but half-hour long. And so it is a very bingeable show and a very quick watch. So then to go from that to Sex Education, which is still, I think, an hour or 40 minutes long an episode, I was just like, when did the episodes get so long?
Yeah. That was definitely like like for example, Homecoming. It was easy to get through because it was 30 minutes. Yeah, it's hard to binge those hour-long shows. Which coming up with The Punisher this weekend, it's going to be kind of
yeah.
I can go ahead and tell you, Sarah, I'm not going to finish it.
Will's even. I can't believe Will's acting like he's even going to try to watch it. What?
I'm going to try to. Sorry, I'm sorry. I cut it to your Friends from College time. My bad.
It's okay. It's okay. No worries. So, Veronica, have you watched Friends from College at all?
No, not yet. I saw when they first released season 1, and I was really kind of excited about the idea of a show about people in their 40s, especially since I just hit my 40s.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, this is probably something I can relate to. The only problem is that it's hard to relate to people who obviously are very privileged.
Yep.
And I just kind of, those types of shows are the kind of shows that I always kind of like, I'll get around to it. So I haven't watched it yet, but I've seen a lot of people talk about it, and they seem to be really into it, and they find it funny. So
it is dark funny.
Yeah,
it is a dark comedy, and I mean there's jokes that I don't laugh at all, and there's jokes where I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening. This is hilarious. But what I really watching season 2. It really highlighted the flaws in all of these characters, and I really liked that to the point where I went back and rewatched the first season, and I'm like, yeah, there's a reason why. Once I saw season 2 was available, I was like, oh, might as well. It's not a show that like will stick with me for the next year, and I'll be like, oh my god. But it's a show that in the moment, they capture something so interesting about relationships, and how they change from when you're younger to older, and even love and just growing apart, but also growing together. That I thought was really interesting. And Keegan-Michael Key like owns the show. If you like him, you'll just love the show because he just owns it. It's his show. Him and Colby Smulders. She does a really good job as well.
Oh, that's right. I forgot she was in that.
Yeah. She's pretty. She still plays a version of Robin from How I Met Your Mother, but she has really good chemistry with Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah, I've seen other people react, and I think the consensus that I've seen with Friends from College season 2 is that season 2 is definitely much better than season 1. I tried watching an episode of season 1 and it did not grab me, so maybe I'll try to revisit it at some point.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me when people say that. I know there's an episode called Mission Impossible in season 1. Jump to that episode and see if it grabs you. Because it's about these two of the characters. They've been married for a long time. They're ready for a kid, or one of them's ready for a kid, but they have fertility issues, or that's what they think is going on. And so they finally sign up for it. And it's about going through that process. And it goes awry. I don't know how to explain it. It becomes a mission impossible. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
I don't. So Veronica, what are you watching? Is anything else gonna say?
One of the shows that I was watching that I really, really got it. I mean, I binged it and managed to finish it in a day and a half was Bodyguard. And at first I wasn't sure because, you know, I never know about a lot of the British dramas.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that first episode grabbed me like right off the bat. Richard Madden like was just so intense, like right off the bat. I couldn't stop. Like I had to force myself to turn off the TV just so I could go to bed because I wanted to keep watching it. I don't know a lot about British Parliament and their law enforcement over there. Like, you know, they have their versions of the FBI and the Secret Service and all this stuff. And he is a type of, I guess, in a sense, like a Secret Service type of guy. And he is in charge of covering, you know, one of the ministers of Parliament, or, you know, whatever they're called. And she's like kind of involved in, she's like this really conservative type, and she's kind of involved in like some backhanded shady stuff going on, and he's starting to put things together. Like every episode he's figuring things out. It just the more you watch, the more you're like, oh my god, what's happening next? You have to go into the next episode. His performance is so good in this show. Like he's very what I'm looking for, very dry.
Extremely dry.
It's just his intensity. Yeah. His intensity though keeps you hooked.
Well, didn't he just win the Golden Globe for Best Actor? Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, it's such a great show. And you know what? He's also, he suffers from PTSD, and the emotion involved for when he's triggered and he has a break. Oh wow. I was like, I don't really cry very often with shows, but you know, my eyes got a little moist there when he would get really, like, when things were affecting him. I was like, damn. But it definitely, I definitely, I mean, it's only 6 episodes, about an hour each episode, and it's so worth it. So worth it.
6 episodes I can do.
Yeah, right? That's what I like about a lot of the British dramas.
Yeah. That and Peaky Blinders always drops 6 episodes, but every other year. So it's always a treat. And then you watch it and you're suddenly like, what? That was it? What the heck? Gotta wait another 2 years. I binge watched The Bodyguard, and it took me a day and a half. I think by the end of it, though, I was kind of over everything, because that last episode takes about 25 different turns, and I'm constantly like, what? How many? Is this Lord of the Rings? How many endings does this have? When is it going to stop? And it kind of ended like in a very blah way, in my opinion, where I was just like, I expected something else. I expected a little oomph at the end there, when it just, I don't know. Some of the crime mystery things always bothers me, because I feel like the first few episodes really get you hooked, and then the longer it goes on, the longer your suspense kind of drips away. But I for the most part, I agree with everything you said about it. It's not a bad show to binge. I don't think I wasted time with it.
I think what I saw, the most I saw of like the negative reviews is that people weren't getting what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they weren't enthusiastic about any of the intimate scenes between him and the female characters. And I'm like, it's not what this show is about. And I get so aggravated, and and then there are other people talking about like, well, that would never happen. This is how it would happen. I'm like, it's a show, fictional show. It's not based on real life. So, but for me, overall, like these types of like slow burn crime thrillers, they sucker me in. They really, really do. And so now I'm eager for the next season to come out.
If there's a next season. It has enough viewers, but the way they end things, they kind of wrote themselves into a corner.
Yeah, right.
Spoiler alert.
What I heard was a lot of people watching the show were really confused about why there was so much incest in this TV show, and it's because of how he always is like, "Hello, mom," and it sounds like mom.
Oh my god.
Ever since somebody pointed that out, anytime I watch a clip from that show, that's all I hear is mom. And I'm like, yeah, there is a lot of incest.
Oh my god. Wow.
So, yeah, I couldn't get over that. I think it's hilarious.
You know what? That is a new one. I have never heard that before with any British show. Oh, wow. Now it's not going to be the same for me when I watch it.
It really isn't. But it's funny because there is incest on Game of Thrones, and Richard Madden was on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
That's funny.
You're welcome.
It's all going to be blamed on you, Sarah.
All right. So those are our current binges. A lot of new shows are coming back. And do you guys have anything like in particular that you're looking forward to?
Yes, I am looking forward to. I'll go ahead and talk about Star Trek Discovery Season 2. Premieres this actually Thursday night, so it's I'm really looking forward to it. This season they're actually going to last season, it was a lot about the Klingons, and there was war and all that kind of stuff. This season it looks like it's going to be a little bit lighter. At the end, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched season 1, stop listening here. But at the end of season 1, the Enterprise actually showed up, and this is set in the original universe, not the J.J. Abrams universe. So the Enterprise showed up. It was the Captain Kirk's predecessor, Captain Christopher Pike, is going to be on the show in season 2. Also, really looking forward to Ethan Peck. He was cast as Spock, so this will be the third actor to take on that role. And after you've had Leonard Nimoy and Zachary Quinto, it'll be apparently this version of Spock is going to be a little bit different from what we've seen from the other incarnations. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's, as far as TV shows, that's definitely something that I'm looking forward to. In addition to our usual staple of shows, there's also, since I'm in a Star Trek rant, Sarah, I'm going to take another minute. New Captain Picard show that's in production, and looks like it's going to be set shortly after the Next Generation. I guess some of the events after the Star Trek Abrams burst will have some impact on this new show with Picard. So there's that. Unfortunately, it looks like as far as Star Trek movie universe is sort of shutting down. S.J. Clarkson, who was going to be directing that, is actually going to be directing the new Game of Thrones prequel. So that pretty much, what was notable about her direction was that she was going to be the first female director of a Star Trek film, but that's not going to happen now.
I'm very curious how that prequel series goes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, everybody knows the story they're going to tell. Well, I'm sorry, Will, you don't, because you don't watch Game of Thrones for some weird reason.
Yeah, I just never.
So strange.
Yeah.
So maybe you're like, oh, I'm going to start with the prequel.
Yeah, maybe I will. And then I'll catch up with 8 years worth of like stuff I've missed.
No, I can just imagine you watching the prequel and then being like, okay, I'll finally watch the actual show and being like, why is all of this stuff such a mystery? Like, this is what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but so she's doing that. So there's no Star Trek 4, but also there was issues with both Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth's contracts, so that pretty much killed that project. But and then the last thing about Star Trek, and then we'll move on. So I won't completely like cause Sarah's ears to bleed. There's a spinoff from Star Trek Discovery, actually, with one of the lead characters, Captain, played by Michelle Georgiou, who's played by Michelle Yeoh. Her, again, spoiler alert, her counterpart from the Mirror Universe was so well received that they are actually spinning off a show based off of a clandestine group of Starfleet called Section 31. And that was just announced this week. So for Star Trek fans, hit me up anytime you want to talk, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the Star Trek universe.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're also capitalizing on the success of Crazy Rich Asians with that move, along with the expected competition that will come once Mandalorian and all of the Disney slate drops. I mean, I think the move to have live action Star Wars TV shows, that's gonna be an interesting streaming service war that will occur with especially CBS and everything that they've dropped. And now NBC has announced they're gonna put their hat finally in the competition.
Yeah, and apparently their service is going to be free. And when you see where Netflix is raising their rates, I think. It's a very hard space, and we could go definitely about cord cutting and everything, but I think Star Wars going to the small screen and doing their shows, I mean, I think that's a game changer. We've seen these little mini game changers, but now when you see these major franchises, tossing their lot on these streaming services, it's definitely, I think it's definitely a game changer as far as will the marketplace finally get saturated to the point that some of these flagship franchises lose some of their luster.
Well, I'm also curious about how the storytelling holds up.
Yeah.
And because you can have the best property in the world, but if you put the wrong people behind it, then it just falls flat. Because now with so much to choose from, your audience is going to give you, 1 episode, 3 episodes, and if you're not sold, you're going to leave and move on.
Yeah, yep.
So, Veronica, are you looking forward to any particular shows coming back?
I would have to say Arrow and Black Lightning.
Besides Arrow and Black Lightning?
If we go with like new shows, brand new shows, then definitely the Umbrella Academy on Netflix.
Okay, what is this? Because I haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
So the Umbrella Academy is based off of a comic book from Dark Horse Comics, and it's kind of like to give you a better idea, think Professor X and his Academy for Mutants. So what this is this I guess like this really rich guy, he adopts these 6 superheroes. They're like from all over the world or something, and basically he adopts them and he raises them. He basically shows them how to become superheroes and like how to fight for justice and what have you, but there's a lot of darkness to it. It's not your typical, bright colors and happy-go-lucky kind of attitude. Like the you can already tell just in the trailer alone, like it's going to be very melancholy and dark. And because we're talking about Dark Horse Comics, so
right.
Dark Horse, is a whole other type of comic book company that I love them. So this show,
is this the book by Gerard Way?
Nerd.
Because I want to say, I think I may have.
Yes.
When he was at North Carolina Comic Con, and he actually was talking about this. That's why I was like, oh yeah, we started talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, that show. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So,
wait a second. Did I just see a monkey? I'm watching. I'm doing what Veronica did, and I'm watching it on mute. And okay, yeah, definitely sold. I saw a monkey.
Yeah, I've been seeing like little spots and stuff coming out, little previews, and people talking about it, and like their Twitter, they've been doing a really good campaign at like pushing it, introducing like gifs of all their different characters. And of course, what really did sell it for me, not only was it because it's the Umbrella Academy, but because Ellen Page is in it. And so I'm so stoked. I cannot wait to for the premiere, which is going to be February 15th. And I am so ready.
yeah. Garrett, he talked about this show and got into a lot of the backstories as far as producing it, and because I guess he was a writer of the comic for years, and they took it forward to obviously for the show here on Netflix. I didn't realize it was like premiering so soon after seeing him talk about it. But he's an interesting cat because he's also like, I think, lead singer of the what band is it? The My Chemical Romance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the thing that one of the Umbrella Academy, get even just the cover art for their comics, personally to me, I think is so amazing. The kind of artwork that I would actually want framed. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things I really liked about, or I like about the majority of Dark Horse comics. And so when I saw that they were coming out with this, I started looking into it, and I was like, yes, I need this show in my life. So I am really excited about it.
This is going to be really interesting because watching the trailer, the production value is pretty on point. I mean, Netflix original shows, it's always hit and miss. Sometimes you can see what they put the money behind and what they really want to see take off. And I think they put a lot into this production. But it gave me serious vibes of Doom Patrol. Very similar.
Yeah.
Very.
Which also drops the 15th of February.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That is... I did not realize that, and that makes this much more like, this is what we're talking about, competition. Those two properties, I can easily see myself watching the first few episodes of Doom Patrol and being like, they didn't put any money into this. I'd rather watch something else, and going over Netflix and be like, this is the best thing ever.
Right.
So
yeah,
wow.
I think that is going to be, I think that show is definitely going to get quite the following. So I'm excited for them. I really am, because I think this is going to be a really good show.
I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see, though, if this show becomes more of that, like builds up over time. Because everybody went straight to Doom Patrol coming off of the full episode we got during the Titans season 1. And so I wonder if that's going to have an impact on its overall audience or not, or if it's going to take away from Doom Patrol's audience. I don't know. But I'm glad you brought that up, because the image that they used on Netflix of just Ellen Page, like, I love her, but she hasn't done a lot for me lately.
Right.
But I was like, that looks like some weird horror movie, so I'm not going to click on it. Oh man. Okay. So I am very, 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 very excited for Billions season 4. This is another show that Will just refuses to watch, even though he promises he
Hey,
watches it all the time, and he
hey,
never does.
I have. I have. I did watch season 1.
um, like talking about well put together trailers. This trailer is just I think is genius, and it got me so pumped up for the season. I forgot where we left things off, and it brought me right back to what occurred in that season finale, and some crap is going to go down. I was trying to explain this to my dad. There's something so interesting about the show from a writing perspective, because season 1, you have two polar opposite characters. They're perfect foils of one another, and they antagonize, and it's about this competition. Season 2, very parallel season 1. Season 3, suddenly tables have turned. They have a common shared interest to protect. And you understand it, and you understand why, even though they hate each other, they're never going to be able to destroy each other because of this shared interest. And now they're friends. Like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and that is something we haven't seen before on the show, and that is really makes me excited, because it's character growth. And yeah, again, from a writing perspective, I think that this show is genius.
I've been wanting to see it. I don't have Showtime. And so I need to eventually maybe try like a subscription trial where it's free. I can try to binge it all within the time frame.
That's what
because
I did.
because I've been really interested in it. I just don't have Showtime, and so I would really like to, especially because I love Paul Giamatti so much. So I can't think of anything I've ever seen him in that I really, really disliked.
He's really good in it. Maggie Sif, from Sons of Anarchy, is really good in it. This isn't Tara Knowles.
Yeah,
the same character. It's like Tara Knowles season 6, right up until her death. Spoiler alert. Like that edginess about her, but she still is a very different character. She's really good.
Yeah. The thing that I think what got me is their, I guess, non-binary character, Taylor, I think is the name.
Yep.
That, to me, I was just loved it so much. The idea that a show is willing to embrace that, for lack of a better word, label of non-binary, instead of just trying to say somebody who is queer or somebody who is trans, but they actually they allow for that title. And it's, with people not being able to understand how queer people will identify, it was kind of nice that there's a show out there that was like, yeah, we're going to embrace it. So let's put it out there. And that's kind of what got me interested in wanting to watch it. I just need to wait for that trial.
Yeah. They do some really good, interesting things with that character in season 3 because of a relationship that occurs, and a betrayal, and the fact that now, technically speaking, Taylor is an antagonist. And it's built from a foundation of drive. And when you come into that kind of arena, you have a mentor, and then you get this idea that I'm better than my mentor, and I can do this better than my mentor, but I have to take down. It's very Star Wars if you think about that kind of dynamic between the mentor and the mentee. I can only rise above if I take down the person who brought me up. And that's what they not only set up with Taylor and and acts, but with Paul Giamatti's character and somebody else who was at one point in time his biggest ally, and now it's his biggest threat, his biggest opponent, and it's really interesting. Like I know why. Again, this show is very similar to Friends of Comedy. There's a lot of darkness in it, and there's a lot of privilege and things that some people might not like. But buried beneath it, I think they just have a really good writer's room who like to take Shakespeare, like the drama and the tension between dramatic irony, situational irony, and apply it to modern day New Yorkers. Yeah.
I definitely need to figure out a way to get Showtime. The other show that's on Showtime I want to watch is Ray Donovan.
That's one that I always think about and I never do.
Wow, we found a show Sarah hasn't watched.
There's a lot of shows that I haven't watched. There's a lot of things that I haven't watched, and I know a lot about because I cheat. But I don't know about all of you. I think that's it for us tonight, unless there's anything else you guys want to bring up.
We'll just say, as far as Flash tonight, Sarah, it was a solid return.
Okay. So
can I give 3 honorable mentions? Just throw out the titles of the Kaminsky Method on Netflix. Mm-hmm. It's a show about aging, and these 2 best friends. Well, even though they don't want to call each other that, grumpy old men kind of style. It's so freaking funny. I watched it with my mother, and it was so good to see her find a show that she could relate to, even if it was about 2 men, but they talk about some of the things that, people that reach a certain age talk about, whether it's your health and it's your aging this and feeling like you have to do this. And it's just such a good show. And Michael Douglas and Alan Arkin have the best dynamic that I think people would really enjoy it, even if they're in their 20s. It's really a good show. It's a cute little 8-episode, show that I really would love for people to see if they get the chance, because it's just so funny. And then there's the new show coming up on Sci-Fi that's called Deadly Class that I'm really curious about. 1980s counterculture, the coming of age, and they're teenage assassins. They go to this academy for assassin school or whatever, and it just looks like it's going to be pretty funny. I can definitely say that it would be a dark comedy, and I probably would say that some of the parents out there might be a little disturbed. But it definitely looks like it's going to be a fun show to watch. That premieres actually tomorrow, or is it tomorrow? No, I think I don't know. It's one of the days coming up.
All right. Well, those are that's it for us tonight. Veronica, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Y'all can find me on Twitter at Nerdy Chicana, NERDYXICANA.
And Will, where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk. That's WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me on Twitter at SJ Belmont. I also dropped a fan vid over the weekend.
Yes, go check it out.
Just so in sync, Go check it out, but don't feel pressure from Will like you have to.
You definitely
don't. And you can find all of our crew on Twitter at SNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, but most importantly, rate, subscribe, and comment on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome. You're welcome, Mom.